What up? N64 never stop moving forward. If this is your first time checking out the channel, welcome. So in this video, I'm going to go over what I think will be deciding physical factors and skill utilizations in the Dustin Poirier Conor McGregor fight. This is a rematch from a fight earlier back when they both competed at featherweight, and both men have come a long way. Both men have become champions, and both men are now UFC greats. Like, they are, whether you're casual or hardcore, these are guys that anyone can appreciate watching. So yeah, a lot of people are making this a foregone conclusion that Conor's going to win. It may happen, it may not, but I want to break this down with varying factors of physical attributes that will be at play. And to do this, I'm going to do something a little different. I'm not going to look at these fighters' records as a whole. I'm going to look at two fights. I'm going to look at one fight for each man, and the fights I am looking at are the fights that I feel highlight both men's skill sets at their best. For Conor McGregor, I'm going to highlight his only win at lightweight against Eddie Alvarez, and for Dustin Poirier, I'm going to go over the fight he had against Justin the Highlight Gaethje. The reason, like I said, I'm picking these fights because I feel these fights were each man's best performance. So let's get in and break down the factors that will be at play. Pace. So pace basically refers to a fighter's ability to push or decide the tempo at which the fight is engaged in. All sports have a form of pace. Some it's fast, others it's slow, others it's somewhere in the middle. But Conor's pace is, he starts out fast and more or less like just holds this particular pace. And you know, that fast start overwhelms his opponents, but then because he's had that fast start, he keeps the pace not really fast but at a moderate pace, and then the opponent gets overwhelmed. We saw this with Eddie Alvarez. Like, Conor just started setting his pace, and Eddie couldn't get anything going. Eddie was so afraid, he was so gun shy, he was throwing a lot of feints, but Conor just stayed the course, man. Eddie just couldn't establish his game because Conor was pushing the pace, and Eddie, for lack of a better term, was getting overwhelmed by it. And Conor just kept pressuring him, and we all saw that. We all saw what happened. Poirier is different. Poirier doesn't start fights out the gate. Poirier is someone who takes time to read the situation. Even in the fight with Gaethje came out aggressive. Gaethje tried pushing the pace, but Poirier did not get overwhelmed. Poirier doesn't easily get overwhelmed by another fighter's pace. He makes reads, he observes. He basically knows how to do just enough that the pace doesn't overwhelm him. So he's just riding the pace until he finds the holes. He's making reads. Because we even saw in the first round with Gaethje kept throwing a leg kick, and Poirier kept landing long combinations, basically disrupting the pace that Gaethje was trying to set. And no matter how hard Gaethje was pushing the pace throughout the fight, Poirier was able to do just enough to make sure that the pace never overwhelmed him. So yeah, on that front, so Conor pushes the pace, and Dustin is one who knows how to adapt to other people's paces. Like, he does have a pace, but I think his greatest skills come from when he adapts to the opponent's pace and just knows how to pick his shots off of that. So that's what I think. The next factor is output. Output is basically the how many punches, kicks, knees does each man throw. Like, basically, what is the, like, if you had to put in an average, what's the average number of punches they throw? Now, this one is interesting because Conor doesn't have the highest output. He doesn't have. Like, it's not the worst thing in the world. I mean, why throw a punch if it's not going to hit? And we saw this with Eddie. He was doing a lot of feints. The thing he was doing most of was like reaching out his lead hand to kind of play with Eddie's lead hand and throwing just jabs just to frustrate Eddie, but he wasn't throwing a whole lot of punches. I mean, one of the few fights in Conor's UFC run that he threw a lot of punches, the Nate Diaz fight, he tired himself out and he learned his lesson. So he knows that he can't really punch himself out that fast, so he has to be strategic. He has to know when to throw his punches. Dustin is simultaneously the same, although Dustin can actually throw a lot of punches at a high rate. He just picks when to do it. He's not someone who just, oh, trying to finish you every time. No, he picks the moments when to turn up the volume. He picks the moments when to turn up the pace. Like, yeah, he'll hit you with a jab, a cross here and there, but when he finds that moment, he will explode and hit you with a lot of punches. So on that front, I feel Dustin has the higher output as opposed to Conor, but that's just my opinion. What do you guys think? And on to the next point. The next point is power. This will be a bit of a critical issue because if I had to look at both fighters, I think Conor has more power than Dustin. This will be a deciding factor when it comes to things like punching. The reason I say this is because the way Conor McGregor counters, he doesn't let his opponents finish combinations then counter. See, the way most people counter punches is, let's say you throw a jab cross. The opponent would, let's say, dodge the jab, dodge the cross, then immediately after you throw the cross, hit you with a punch. The way Conor McGregor fights, he dodges the he dodges the jab, then hits you while you're about to throw your cross. That's why in the Jose Aldo fight, as Aldo was getting knocked out, he hit Conor. That's because Conor did not let Aldo finish the combination. So that's one other thing. Dustin doesn't have what I would call one-shot knockout power. Not well, he has to set it up. The circumstances have to be perfect, but he has what I would call death by 1,000 cuts sort of style. Like, he won't knock you out the first punch, but it's gonna hurt and you're gonna carry those scars. Like, Justin Gaethje felt pain in the fight with Poirier. So I look at that. Conor has more one-shot knockout power. Dustin has more power in a sense of, I guess you could just call it less power, but he would just do a lot of damage. But in terms of like power, knockout power, Conor wins that. Conor wins that. Durability. Now, durability refers to the athlete's ability to take a punch. Now, this is a weird one. A lot of people give Conor a lot of criticism for not fighting that often. But here's the thing: this may actually work out to his advantage. With the selection of the two Diaz fights, the Chaz Mendes fight, and the fight with Habib, how often does Conor McGregor get beat up? It's very rare. As such, his body hasn't taken as much wear and tear as other fighters. There are fighters whose bodies literally cut easily because of all the wars they've had. Nate Diaz and Diego Sanchez come to mind. Both men's bodies are really worn out, really damaged, really battered. But Conor hasn't gone through that. Dustin, on the other hand, rarely goes through a fight where he doesn't come out with some sort of battle scars. His most recent fight with Dan Hooker. But that fight proved something. Dustin is not easy to put away because Hooker hit him with bombs, but Dustin kept at it. He stayed in there. And that's another thing. So Dustin can take a hit, but the issue at hand is Conor isn't a slouch in that department either. Not to mention, because he's not that active, his body is well rested as opposed to Dustin's that's seen a couple of scars. So this one's down the middle, so we'll see. Conditioning or stamina. This one, all the critics of Conor McGregor are going to bring up this one. As we all know, one of Conor's most notorious weak spots is his stamina. At least that's what that's what everyone thinks. The reality of the situation is this. In Conor's entire UFC run, he's only gone the distance twice. He's only done one 5-round fight. So, we don't know. Also, keep in mind that that 5-round fight was at welterweight. So, he had to pack on a lot of size for that. However, we don't know how he would do in a 5-round fight at lightweight. Maybe it's the right weight class for him, so he won't gas himself out. However, in all honesty, this one is completely different, and I gotta give this to Poirier. Poirier, in all honesty, has had more 5-round experience. He knows what to do in those 5 rounds. He knows how to handle those deep waters. Like, you can train all you want, but there's certain things you cannot plan for. And unless Conor is able to establish the pace from the beginning of the fight to the end, going in those later rounds will prove challenging for him. At least that is my opinion. The next factor I look at is recovery, specifically recovering between rounds. This is the athlete's ability when they have in between rounds to compose themselves and recover. Conor, I'm not sure on this one. Even after watching the Nate Diaz fight a bunch of times, I still feel his ability to recover wasn't all that good. Now, he could have improved. He really could have. But I don't think, like, if it's a really close, really technical fight, he'll recover. Especially if he's not able to dictate the pace. If he's dictating the pace, yes, he will manage. This is the opposite of Dustin. One thing I don't think I noticed much about Dustin up until the Hooker fight was Dustin's ability to recover in between rounds is amazing. Like, he took a lot of damage in the Hooker fight, but especially in the second round, but he came back each round ready to fight. That's not easy. That's not easy to do, and it's quite impressive that he has that ability to maximize that 1 minute. That's really good training. That's really impressive. So these are just some of my factors on their physical attributes, on what I feel will be the determining factors of the fight. It is a fight, anything can happen, I do acknowledge that. However, if we break down these factors, we can play around with a few scenarios. So let's play around with a few scenarios. Let's say Conor comes out and takes the center of the octagon, as is his style. He wants to establish the pace. So let's say he opens up on Poirier with a kick, like, just trying to surprise him, like what he did with Cowboy. Opens up with a kick. Poirier may get stung, he may block, but he's not going to panic. Poirier is actually not bad fighting off the back foot. Conor's going to come, want to hit the jab, and probably hit him with a cross. Poirier is once again going to move backwards. Conor is going to throw a jab, and Poirier is going to slip the jab and try a switch cross. He'll probably get hit with the right hand, but then he's still going to, with Conor's left hand, but he's going to come forward and hit Conor with, let's say, a combination. And we can play around with it like that. The issue here is really, there are three issues I look at. Pace. Conor's ability to dictate pace will be very crucial. And Poirier's ability to read the opponent's pace and know how to respond to it is the other crucial factor. Power. Power is critical because Poirier is a guy who's not afraid to get hit to hit you back. The problem is, can he withstand a hit from Conor and still come forward? And how many of those can he take before he goes down? Conditioning. The reality of the situation is Dustin is very smart about how he conditions. Even if he gets tired as all heck, he's still very smart, very tactful on how to make sure he doesn't gas himself out in the middle of rounds. And even when he's tired, he knows how to pick his shots and when to deal damage. Ability to recover between rounds. This is one I think will really be a deciding factor because, like I said, Conor hasn't had many 5-round fights. In fact, if Dustin can make this a war, if Dustin Poirier can make this a scrap, he will really put Conor in unfamiliar territory and thus really make him work. Anyway, guys, it was just my opinions. Now, there are other factors involved, like the mentality of both guys. Dustin is mentally tough, but Conor is the master of psychological warfare. He may be able to get in Dustin's head, like maybe say something like, if Dustin attempts a takedown, then Dustin's afraid to fight with me. And truth be told, a lot of hardcore fans have nothing against grappling, but casual fans, they hate grappling. They hate it. And Conor may be playing on that thought kind of to get Dustin to make sure Dustin doesn't shoot for takedowns. But you may never know. Dustin, I feel, is a lot more mature, especially considering how even he acknowledges that he let Conor get in his head in the first fight, and he actually made a rule that he doesn't look at social media so much when he's getting ready for a fight because of it. So yeah, those are my things. But anyway, guys, I want to know what you guys think. What do you guys think will be the other factors that will determine this fight? Do you think Dustin has a chance? Do you think Conor's just going to wash over him again? I learned never to underestimate the diamond. He's really tough. Anyway, guys, hope you appreciate this video. Please leave a like if you appreciate it. Subscribe for more content, and please hit that bell notification. I'm N64. This was Never Stop Moving Forward. Thank you for watching.